Hi, I'm Leonie Steenkamp from STBB, and today we're going to be discussing what to look out for when signing an offer to purchase. When you sign an offer to purchase, it's important that you have a look at the clauses that are contained in the contract, and today we're going to be discussing two of the clauses that we consider to be important for you as the buyer and the seller when signing an offer to purchase. The two clauses are going to be VAT, taxes and costs, and then the last one is going to be the breach clause. So, starting off with the VAT, taxes and cost clauses, these are actually quite a few clauses in your offer to purchase or clauses that make reference to these items, and it's important for you as a buyer and as a seller to understand what are the cost implications when buying a property. There are various cost implications as well as tax implications that are vital for you as a seller and a buyer. So when I'm dealing with a seller, it's important for you as a seller to understand that you know that when you're paying your agent's commission, whether that is inclusive or exclusive of your the amount that's stated in your offer to purchase. More often than not, your agent's commission would be referred to as 3.5% of the purchase price plus VAT. And it's important that you know that there is that VAT portion that's also going to be deducted on your proceeds at the end of the day. Another part of the taxes on the seller's part that is important to understand is capital gains tax. Now, this is quite a lengthy, different topic, and we're only going to touch on this briefly, but as a seller, you may be liable for capital gains tax. And this is a tax that SARS can take based on the gain that you've made on your property. If it's not your primary residence, you don't get certain exclusions. Before you sell your property, you need to make sure that you understand which tax implications is there going to be for you when for capital gains tax purposes. Another VAT or tax-related problem is also that when you are a seller and a VAT-registered seller selling your property as a going concern, it's important that you know that your VAT must be included in your purchase price, because after registration, you as the seller would be liable to pay that VAT portion over to SARS. So if it wasn't included in your offer to purchase or the purchase price amount, you are actually going to also have to pay that over to SARS without having made that back on your property sale. So be sure that you're on the lookout for whether it's VAT inclusive or exclusive on these various items. When you are a purchaser, on the other hand, the costs and taxes that you actually need to be wary of is your transfer duty. Now, transfer duty is a tax that gets levied on the acquisition of a property. So if you are a buyer and you are obviously then acquiring the property, you as a buyer will be liable for that transfer duty or tax portion that's payable on the transfer of the property. This is actually based on a sliding scale of the property purchase price, and it's going to be included in the amount that your attorney would request for payment. And that amount is payable on request. So it's important that you know that when you are buying a property, that you make provision for costs to your bond attorney if you're taking out bond finance, and costs to your transferring attorney, as well as that transfer duty portion as well, because all of these costs are payable on request, and the property transfer cannot go through without these various costs being paid in advance. So make sure that you do understand which costs you are liable for and which taxes you are not liable for. The last clause that we're going to be dealing with is the breach clause. Now, the breach clause is actually a clause that is always inserted in every offer, not just an offer to purchase, but actually in every agreement. And the breach clause refers to whether a seller or a buyer has breached the terms of the offer to purchase. Now, as you know, with buying a property and selling a property, there are various obligations for both your seller and your buyer. For argument's sake, your seller needs to get perhaps the compliance certificate, your buyer needs to pay the costs or deposit or balance purchase price, whatever the case might be. Now, if you are a seller or a buyer and you breach those terms of the agreement, you can actually be held liable for damages because you haven't met your obligations in terms of the offer to purchase. Now, the important part when thinking about breach is that if you are a buyer, you can actually be held liable for damages, which would include your attorney's wasted costs, bond attorney wasted costs, but also your agent's commission. And as you can imagine, this sum can be actually quite a large sum that you can be liable for. And that's why it's important that you understand what is in the breach clause and that you do need to comply with certain obligations in your offer to purchase. I'm going to also just refer to the fact that you as the buyer need to make sure of your due dates in the offer to purchase, say when a deposit is due, when a balance purchase price is due, because if you do not meet those requirements, you can be placed on terms and be in breach of the agreement and liable for those damages. A good example would be a deposit or balance purchase price that is, say, payable within 7 days of signing the offer to purchase, and you as the buyer forgot to mention that actually those balance purchase price is invested in a 32-day investment account. As you can see, you're going to be in breach of your agreement. So make sure you manage your timelines and you make sure you know the terms of your contract so that you are not placed on terms or in breach of your contract, because you do not want to be held liable for obligations that you could not meet. Thank you for listening, and go to our website stbb.co.za for more information.